Hey everyone. The lesson about our nonfiction reading unit that you are going to be doing either Monday or Tuesday this week, whichever day you're learning from home, is about rethinking your initial ideas. So last week we talked a lot about starting to come up with details and then looking at those details and determining main idea. And today we're going to kind of take it to the next level and understand that we often rethink our initial or first ideas as we read a book. So remember our unit about characters, our narrative writing unit way back first semester? During that unit, we realized that our initial ideas about the characters weren't always sufficient, since our characters tended to reveal themselves, not tended to reveal themselves over time and change as the story progressed. Our first ideas didn't take the whole character into account. So sometimes we would look at like the positives and negatives of a character. Sometimes our initial impressions of a character were one way, and then later in the story we learned something contradictory or new to add to that character's personality. So to develop truly accurate ideas about our characters, we had to read being alert to new details, ready to rethink our initial ideas. Well, the same, just as with our fiction books, the same goes with our nonfiction chapter books that we are reading right now. So the teaching point for today's lesson is that I want you to learn that in complicated nonfiction books, just like the ones we're reading, and just like in complicated chapter stories, fiction stories, central ideas only reveal themselves over time. Experienced readers, therefore, are alert to new details and they rethink their first ideas in light of new evidence. Remember all these pictures from last week's lesson? So one of the central ideas that we decided could that all these pictures have in common, a detail they all have in common, is that they're all about adult animals, parents taking care of their babies. You guys came up with other central ideas as well, but this is the one we're going to roll with for right now. So something all these have in common is that adults, animals take care of their babies. Now, if you look over on the right over here, I've added 3 more pictures. So it's like as you're reading about, in this case, these animals, if this was our nonfiction text, the authors added more information. New information's come to light as you continue to read. So your or our initial central idea that all animal parents take care of their babies won't work here because you've got a cat taking care of a squirrel, which is adorable, the dog and the goat, and then the sweet lion and the fawn, the baby deer. So now our central idea that it's animal parents take care of their babies doesn't work when we look at all of these details together. So we might revise, going back real quick, we might revise our central idea to say animals have a nurturing and parently demeanor about them, and even if it's between a different species. So as you can see now, we've revised our central idea, having learned more details. Okay, this is where you need to take a moment. You can pause the video on this page and you need to copy these notes. You can either add them to the page notes that we started before or flip to the next page. So when we read nonfiction text and we're taking notes, we want to hold on to your initial ideas. And by hold on to them, I mean, like we've talked about, when you're reading, after you read 10 or 20 pages or a chapter or something comes up, you're holding on to ideas you have, you're jotting them down into your notebook. Then we want to point to specific details in the text. I asked you to do that last week and start writing down details from your text. We did that with Fast Food Nation, where we wrote details about how soda companies like to use kids as their main customers. So you, at this point, having read a good chunk of your book, should have a page or more of notes about some of your initial thoughts and ideas, some details, and now you want to start rethinking your initial main idea as you continue to read and revise that in light of new evidence. So you can pause this video and jot these notes in your notebook. And then when you're ready to move on, go ahead and hit play again. Okay, now that you have those notes jotted down in your notebook about taking notes while you're reading, this is our read aloud from Fast Food Nation for today. And it is from page 72. The nation has about 1 million migrant farm workers and about 3.5 million fast food workers. Although picking strawberries is orders of magnitude more difficult than cooking hamburgers, both jobs are now filled by people who are generally young, unskilled, and willing to work long hours for low pay. Moreover, the turnover rates for both jobs are among the highest in the American economy. That means turnover rates, guys, means that they don't keep the same employees very long. People leave that job frequently. The annual turnover rate in the fast food industry is now about 300 to 400%. The typical fast food worker quits or is fired every 3 to 4 months. The fast food industry pays the minimum wage to a higher proportion of its workers than any other American industry. Consequently, a low minimum wage has long been a crucial part of the fast food industry's business plan. So fast food workers do not get paid well at all, which could be why a lot of them leave and quit the job. So let's pop back before we talk about today's reading. Last week's central idea, after reading about soda and how fast food restaurants use soda to profit, last week's central idea that we came up with was that fast food companies market their products to kids so they can profit. But now we have more evidence because we've read further into our text. So let's compare the details from last week's reading and then this week's reading. You do not have to write this in your notebook, but if it helps you and you want to, you can definitely pause this video and write these notes. However, you don't have to. You'll be writing notes for your own book. So last week's details from our reading about soda and marketing to young kids, here's 3 details. I asked you guys to write some down. Yours might be a little bit different than mine, but these 3 are the ones I chose. So influencing elementary students is important to the soda company. That's one detail I learned. Detail 2 is that 8-year-olds are ideal customers to soda companies. And detail 3 was that it costs $1.29 for a drink that only costs 8 cents to make. There's my 3 details from last week's reading. And down at the bottom here, you can see the central idea that we came up from last week's reading. Fast food companies market their products to kids so they can profit. Okay, here's 3 details that I found from this week's reading that I just read to you. And you can jump back if you need to look at this slide. So now I'm looking for details so I can revise my thinking about my central idea. So 3 details I chose was that young and unskilled workers who need jobs work in the fast food industry. The fast food industry has low pay and long hours, and the fast food industry fights to keep workers working for minimum wage. So now that I compare these details side by side, now that I've read another section of my nonfiction book, I want to ask myself this question up at the top. Just like we did with the pictures of the animals when we added more pictures, more details. How do these details fit together? And I want to come up with a new central idea or revise my thinking, because this one's not about marketing products to young kids. So that means my main or central idea is no longer 100% accurate. So here's the new central idea I came up with after comparing last week's reading with this week's reading side by side. Fast food companies take advantage of people to make a profit. So instead of focusing on kids and marketing to kids, because today's reading did not say they market to adults. They were talking about the employees of the fast food industry and how they don't get paid well, they're unskilled, they don't keep their jobs, etc. So now we've revised it to say fast food companies take advantage of people to make a profit, to make money. So now that you understand how when you start reading, you always come up with these initial ideas and here's what my idea, this whole book must be about blank. But as you continue to read, you revise those ideas. Think back to the first day of reading Fast Food Nation and how it was all about Cheyenne Mountain and appeared to have nothing to do with fast food. It was just a hook to grab your attention. And it turns out that the people who work at Cheyenne Mountain order a lot of fast food. And the author was connecting it to the fact that it would survive a nuclear holocaust or Armageddon, and then we would find remnants of fast food if we were to study Americans after Armageddon. So as we continue to read, we continue to learn more details and revise our thinking about the main idea. So classwork today, if you've made it this far, you've already done it. Watch my lesson, pausing when needed, and take notes when prompted. So there was that one page of notes for you to take. And if you've done that, you're done with the classwork time. Homework, obviously, you can use the rest of the classwork time to complete your homework, but your homework's to continue to read from your book and to continue to take notes, thinking about details and then any central ideas you can come up with those details. So just like we did for Fast Food Nation, take some notes on details you've read and then come with possible main or central idea statements. Write those down in your class notebook. Again, your goal should be to read about 20 pages from your book today. So that's the lesson. I am going to be busy with students in class today. If you have any questions or get stuck, please shoot me a message and I will respond to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, happy reading. I really hope you're enjoying your books and I can't wait to see you in class tomorrow and hear more about them. Bye.